doesn't come free.
No! Sweet liberty! No!
Helldivers 2 has lost the majority of its player base in only 6 months. The game, which at one point was at the top of both Steam and PlayStation charts, is now scavenging for its former glory. But why? Helldivers 2 was one of the multiplayer games that captured players like very few others can. When the game was released, everyone and anyone was playing. The captivating collective goal of freeing Super Earth and its colonies was alluring to so many people, including myself, though I never had enough time to really get into it. Helldivers 2 was a game that forced you into a high-pressure situation with your squad mates, forcing you to coordinate and work together or death was assured. Helldivers 2 was a big moment for its publisher, PlayStation, and an even bigger step for Arrowhead, the relatively small developer behind the game series, and the successor was a surprise to them as the previous installment was a relatively niche, top-down cooperative shooter. But why has Helldivers 2 lost its top 10 spot on the Steam charts, and even the social media presence of the game has fallen, as Helldivers 2 no longer tops Twitch as a top-streamed game? Why does the game continue to fail, even though it has consistent updates, and is designed to be played for years and years? As they have dedicated a team to decide on the next missions. So why have 90% of the players dropped out? One of the theories behind the decline from the hundreds of thousands of players to around 40,000 is the account linking update that happened in May. If you don't know about this, PlayStation decided to play Helldivers 2, you should have a PlayStation account, as Sony was the publisher and would use the thousands of PC players to bring traffic and boost numbers. And this whole process only took a few seconds. Not a problem, right? Wrong. This led to thousands of players being unable to play, as several countries are not allowed to create PlayStation accounts. I'll put a map up on the screen. But looking at the chart on the day that this happened, it was only a continuous drop from the previous months, as the root of the problem was a lot deeper than just this issue. But this situation caused Helldivers to be delisted from over 177 countries on Steam, as the team didn't want controversy in their store, as they could get in hot water for selling a game that you can't even play. Still to this day, many countries still can't access the game. But let's get to the root of the problem. Helldivers 2 is a live service at heart, and it is a very successful one at that. But the most successful live service games require constantly decent-sized updates, but Helldivers 2 lacks this. Though the updates are consistent and the devs are very involved in the game, the decline continues, because they're involved for the wrong reason. The reason behind it is on the updates themselves. Helldivers 2 has become notorious within the community for dishing out controversial update after controversial update. By serving weapons that people love and see as the meta, and adding changes to strategies that drastically affect their damage and effectiveness. By attempting to create a game that has variety, the devs have limited the weapons that are actually viable, and later would nerf those weapons that are loved by the community. This overshadows the updates that are actually good, because the community feels punished just because they play the game. Though the quote-unquote story is interesting, the progression is lacking, as many weapons aren't capable of doing decent damage, making each dive not feel as rewarding, especially considering that the levels lack variety after a certain point. The planets eventually blend together, and there are only so many objectives that finding the automaton outpost is no longer as satisfying as the 100th time. By refusing to truly listen to the community, the devs have doomed themselves. The only hope they have is what seems like tons of content that they are holding back to quell the community until eventually the community gets bored of that content and looks their eye back to Arrowhead. The worst part is obviously the impact that it's had on the community. People are angry that every time they find a gun or stratagem they love, it is nerfed to oblivion, and so many people get bored as there is no content to play with the very few viable resources. The progression system is very lackluster and unrewarding, and the things that make games like Fortnite so fun are absent from this. And unlike Fortnite, this game looks, feels, and plays well, so it should be better, but the devs refuse to unleash its potential. Time for my favorite part. Let's read some reviews, both negative and positive. Restore democracy to our fallen comrades from 177 countries. Move the guy who's nerfing every gun to nothing, bring back all banned countries, and give us some new content. There's no excuse for being out for months and you have no new major content ready to go, besides a palm full of new weapons and stratagems. Democracy. Nobody will read my review, so I'll just say, I'm gay. I really loved this game on release, and with the following updates to follow. However, I cannot recommend this game based on recent history of updates. Like a weapon? Having fun in a PvE game? Well, your favorite weapon will quickly be nerfed into tediousness, increased patrols and lowered spawn rates, and even lower to medium difficulties. This game has become infuriating and, worst of all, annoying. You will constantly be killed by powers completely out of your control, or rather, contrary to it. I cleared an area in a 200-meter direction. Look away for a second and you'll be surrounded and killed without any way to react. On top of the issues, fun killing by the devs, you make zero difference at all to the always live world. You will only make progress when the dev specifically wants you to. This game could be absolutely awesome. It was even my personal pick of Game of the Year, but after seeing what this has turned into, it has completely reversed my opinion. Helldivers 2 is really a great game, and with some tune-up and some community time, this could be a phenomenal live service. These type of games always have their contention, and Helldivers 2 has so much uniqueness that the potential is almost unlimited. The always evolving stories and assignments to save certain places are not going to be enough, but with some labor and love, Helldivers 2 can easily be the epitome of gaming live service. Alright, bye-bye.